Hey there everyone, we need to talk about this girl. This is Alys. She is my supposed toffee-conda. She laid 2 clutches of eggs this year, all slugs or unhealthy looking. I don't really expect the second clutch that I have in the incubator right now to hatch out. Things haven't gone according to plan, but apparently that's just how 2022 is going to be. That's beside the point though. The meat of this video is that Alys has not been putting on much weight despite being fed just about every other day. She has felt what I can only describe as empty. At a quick glance, her body condition looks fine, but when I hold her and examine her more closely, things just don't look right. What I have to say in this video actually highlights why you should familiarize yourself with your pet's normal so that you can spot when they aren't normal. I had posted on some of the Facebook groups asking if anyone had experienced a female not gaining weight after laying 2 clutches of eggs. I got a lot of reassurances, but not really any suggestions of what could possibly be going wrong, with some suggesting that I might be overdoing it by feeding her every other day, and to just put her back on her regular feeding schedule. So I put her back on a regular feeding schedule of once every 6 through 8 days, but her condition was still in the back of my mind, making me worry and causing me to lose sleep. I don't think I made it even a week on her regular feeding schedule before I called the vet. I made the vet appointment for early July, but resolved to run in a stool sample for testing if she passed her food sooner than the appointment date. Apparently, today, the 2nd of July, is the day that she both shed out and had the biggest bowel movement I think I've ever seen from her. I weighed her, because I always weigh them after they pass their food, and she had only gained 3 grams for a total of 268 grams. Calling the vet, I found out that they close early on Saturday, but the vet tech said they would ask the doctor if I should hold on to the stool sample for her appointment in a few days or just bring it in for a test now, and the vet said fresher is definitely better. Now, I'm glad I let her empty feeling belly and the thinning of her waistline, that area of her body just before her vent, bother me enough to request a vet appointment because her stool tested positive for both Coccidia and pinworms. I'm not entirely sure how the parasites got into her, but I have a few theories, one of which relates to my most popular group of videos. Hognose snakes love fish, so I feel that I need to address it here, as some people may try to replicate what I did there and the results could end up fatal. I've also heard from others on a few Facebook groups claiming that bad frozen feeders are a source of Coccidia, and apparently this isn't an isolated issue. I will admit that the last frozen food I received from my favorite cheap supplier was the worst looking that I've ever seen. The frozen mice were covered in aspen bedding and feces, but hey, I thought, looks aren't everything. I had heard that freezing the feeders would kill off all the parasites, but I suppose that knowledge could be completely wrong. I just don't know anymore. To be safe, now that I've finished off all the old feeders from the cheap supplier, I'll be switching to a different one going forward. Disregarding pinworms, as they aren't a particular threat, Coccidia is the big one and can be fatal. I'll just read a running description of what Coccidia does off of something I found online, as I was particularly ignorant of it, just assuming that this was a bearded dragon and lizard problem, since they eat live food, which is where the infection most typically comes from. Description: Coccidia are single-celled parasites that can cause many different signs of illness and infections in reptiles. Reptiles with an untreated Coccidia infection may stop eating and appear listless. These animals will not appear healthy, or might begin having a thin, malnourished appearance, which is kind of what describes Alys. These parasites can infect both the intestines, intestinal, and the tissues, extra-intestinal, of reptiles. Seeing as it mentions extra-intestinal tissues of reptiles, I kind of wonder if a lot of the heart swelling issues that a lot of keepers have been experiencing lately wouldn't be related to Coccidia, but that's just my musings. Signs associated with intestinal coccidiosis may include poor growth, weight loss, bloody feces, and diarrhea. Luckily, Alys hasn't had any bloody feces or diarrhea, but definitely has a little bit of weight loss or just not enough weight gain. Signs of extra-intestinal coccidiosis vary according to the infected tissue and may include sudden death, sore nose, lack of appetite, depression, and a reluctance to move. Now, I think sore nose is isolated to tortoises, and that seems to be something exclusive to them. I don't think that's a snake thing. Maybe also a lizard thing, but not really sure. Alys definitely has she doesn't have a lack of appetite. She eats with gusto every single time, and she is definitely not reluctant to move, so maybe I caught this soon enough to save her life. Anyway, often no signs of a problem are seen, and Coccidia are detected during a routine fecal examination, which this was. So, get it done once a year. Save your baby's lives. So, yeah, 2022 is shaping up to be a real banger for me. I lost my favorite snake Clatu to egg binding. The male I was trying to breed her with, Zod, prolapsed one of his hemipenes. Alys became egg-bound with her first clutch before Clatu became egg-bound. And luckily she passed all of her eggs herself before I had to rush her to the vet. All 19 were slugs, and then her second clutch, which caught me completely by surprise, popped out with 17 eggs, most of which look unhealthy. And I don't really expect any of them to hatch, but I'm still hoping and praying that some do. And those are probably going to come out between the 20th and the 25th of this month, July. But I haven't even really peeked in on them. I'm just hoping that they take care of themselves in the incubator. There's enough air circulation in there that it should be fine, but I still don't think anything's going to make it. I just thank God that he didn't let me ignore Alys and reassure myself that everything would be fine, because it wouldn't have been fine. I could have been burying another snake. I don't think I could have handled that again. I'm still not over Clatu. So, I'm making this video for all the snake lovers out there who may have snakes or plan on getting a snake or just any reptile in the future. Do periodic fecal tests on your animals because it could save their lives. I don't know if the nearly raw tilapia caused this parasite infection. I'll probably stop feeding it as a treat until I can find a way to properly cook it without searing it or boiling it into mush. I can't really see any more realistic ideas on where it could have come from except for one other thing. I do let my snakes free roam my room. Usually they are not allowed to roam unless they have passed their meals inside of their enclosures. However, roaming seems to loosen up stuff inside that might not have made its way out, and I do find feces hidden in a random corner along the wall from time to time. Coccidia and pinworms pass in the feces. It's part of their life cycle. If one of my other snakes has it, and I suspect they might, it would be easy for them to pick it up from the random piles that end up hidden in the room until I could find and clean it up. I have and still do quarantine my animals when I receive them, either through online sites, person-to-person conversations that lead to sales, or from a breeder on Morph Market. However, my quarantine approach until recently probably mirrored what most people do. I keep them separate from the rest of the colony of animals, usually for 3 months, and I watch their body condition and check their poop visually to see if anything looks off. If after 3 months the animal is still doing well, then it gets introduced into the population. With the recent outbreaks of crypto going around, and me hearing about it and all the devastation it can cause, I realized I can no longer just do the visual thing. So, I introduced crypto testing as part of the quarantine process. With the recent arrival of the pair of Savannah Westerns, I also decided to start fecal tests as part of that process, and I would highly suggest that everyone else do the same if you have multiple animals. What I'm trying to get at is that my quarantine method in the past wasn't sufficient, and that I may have let an animal with Coccidia into my colony without knowing it, as it can stay in your animal system without showing signs at all of being in there until a stressful event sets it free to run out of control. Anyways, Alys is going to be getting treated in a few days, so she'll probably be fine, or at least I hope she'll be fine. I had already decided to run fecal tests on all of my animals to make sure that everything is above board, and Alys was just the first because she was showing outward signs of distress. Now I just have to ask my vet if there is a way that I can treat everyone without spending several $1,000s in vet fees. I think this video is going to end up being long enough, and I keep trying to remind myself to make it short because YouTube doesn't like long format stuff, so I'll end it here. I'm never really sure what to say at the end of these things. I think I just need a quick quip. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. If you dislike the video, go ahead and dislike it and let me know why in the comments. YouTube might be hiding the dislikes now, but I still see them, and I'm curious as to why someone might get a dislike on a video. Hey, if you like the video, you can hit the like button or just forget it. I usually do when I watch things, so I don't blame you if you do. If you really want to make my day, drop a comment. I honestly enjoy those more than the subscribers or likes, as it's something I can interact with. I know someone is on the other side of that comment rather than a pile of nuts and bolts or circuits and electrodes. Have a great day, everyone, and wish it back to somebody else.